A year ago today, I got engaged and later found out he cheated on me the same day he proposed. So I thought we would reflect on February 21st together, on how crazy that is. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know why I'm laughing. It's really not funny. It was really traumatizing. Like this morning, I woke up not sad because of him. There's no reason I would ever want to be with someone like that, but more so just like weighing on me the grief of when I believed people were inherently good. I went through 23 years of life believing in the good of people always as the default, and I feel like in the last year, one of my biggest takeaways has been there are some evil people out there. There are fake people, there are liars, and I just hadn't run into that, and not to privilege, I hadn't run into that for 23 years. So anyway, let's just ramble, let's just get into it. So a year ago today, we were living in Orange County in this cute little apartment. He was training there, and I just remember waking up and feeling those excited jitters. I was 90% sure that he was gonna propose this day. There were so many hints swirling around, and I just remember feeling like a little girl. Growing up as a girl, I feel maybe this is part of the patriarchy, I don't know. I always just pictured a beautiful setting, music, flowers, and I don't know, you think about this moment, it's a big first, it's a big step in life, it's a milestone. So I just remember feeling that giddy, oh my gosh, is my life gonna take this next step in this direction? I love this guy, I'm so excited about this. I don't know, I just remember feeling like, wow, this is gonna be a really big day. Woke up together, spent the morning together. We ended up going to this reptile zoo, which is right up my alley. He had flown out his hairstylist and her son, so we went the four of us, and it was so much fun. Came back to our apartment and started getting ready. I'm getting a little bit more nervous. I'm like, is this really happening? Putting on this white dress that the photographer had picked out for me. Shout out Sydney. We're going to a photo shoot. I should say that. That's what I thought was happening. We arrived to this beautiful venue in the hills, and I remember walking down this driveway, and I hear music, and I see this gorgeous floral setup right out of my dreams that I had as a child. He gets down on one knee, he puts the ring on my finger. I just remember saying, oh, my cheeks hurt so much from smiling. I was so happy. I remember just looking back and being like, this is going to be one of the happiest days of my life. And we ended up going to the beach after, did a little beach photo shoot. The pictures were gorgeous, and ended up going to our engagement dinner, got a little sushi, and headed back to our apartment. Now, knowing what I know now, this was his timeline for the day. So he woke up, and he texted his ex-girlfriend and texted her this. It's gross, so I wouldn't say those words. Then proceeded to go through the same day I did, and he gets down on one knee, he proposes, we commit to each other for the rest of our lives, marriage, crazy concept. We go to our engagement dinner, I just said all these things. Then we get home from our engagement dinner, and then he texts her this. And for some reason, you cheat before and after you propose, the morning of and the night. That's just something I will never understand. I've given up on trying to understand how someone can be that evil. I think you just have to be a sociopath, and that's just it at the end of the day. But in that video I posted back in May, one of the last things I said was, if I can make one woman feel seen, heard, or understood, or aid in a journey of healing, then I've accomplished what I set out to do. I got such an overwhelmingly positive response on that video, and I had so many women reaching out to me for doing exactly that, and that's really special to me. That's why when people are like, stop talking about this, get over it, I'm like, now that I do have a platform and I have women that look to me in a way as someone that's gone through something like this really bad, and a lot of them I've had personal conversations with, and we've bonded over things like this. I don't want to stop talking about these issues, and if I had to have the devil in disguise as a fiance and I had to go through that, then let me utilize the blueprint of a bad, shitty man to promote conversations about healing and create a community of women. That is what I want to do. That's what I would want this platform to be about, stingrays and healing. But anyway, I just think all of that is to say, men ain't shit. I'm just kidding. No, really. I think it's all about community. It's all about coming together. This is just one little example of, there's a lot to say about that man, and the story will come out eventually. This was just me reflecting on 1 year ago today. But yeah, if I can make one person feel seen, heard, or understood, then I've accomplished my purpose, and that is why I'm here sharing this today. Don't you dare try to silence me again. So, I do love you guys. Bye. A year ago today,
my mom had an affair with my brother's wife. My brother met his wife when they were both 25 and in their last year of school. They got engaged really fast, like about 4 to 5 months after they met. During their engagement, they spent a lot of time together, but they were never allowed to be fully alone together. So this meant that she would spend a lot of time at my house, where either me, my mom, or my sister would spend the night with them. Inevitably, we all got super comfortable around each other, and this is when things started to get weird with my mom. My mom, who is 44 years old, started to get a little too friendly with my sister-in-law. Like, for example, we would be watching a movie and they would sit together, and then that turned into leaning on each other, and then that turned into full-on cuddling with each other. Another example is that they would FaceTime each other 24/7, and I'm talking about like waking up and falling asleep to each other on FaceTime. So eventually me and my sister would call my mom out on this, and she got extremely angry, and she was just saying that they were super close, so they would talk a lot, and she said she would stop calling her and talking to her so much, but she actually never ended up not talking to her as much, and she would just hide when they would be FaceTiming, and they would FaceTime for hours, sometimes even with AirPods in, just listening to each other's background noises, and then they would text each other when they would want to say something to each other. This went on for the entire engagement. Me and my sister would joke about how they were lovers, but we were really honestly just joking because we never thought that it would actually get that far. I had just gotten home from work, and my mom, my sister-in-law, and my sister were all sitting on the couch together. My sister had just gotten home like 10 minutes before me, and my sister-in-law and my mom had been together alone all day. I took a seat next to my sister on the couch, and she texted me and said, "Go look at what's on mom's bed, but don't make it obvious." So I got up really quickly, and I secretly went and took a peek into my mom's room. I didn't see anything at first, so I went in and took another quick look, and I saw a strap in the corner of my mom's room. My mom had
calls, and one day during a shift, this lady calls and says that he just got a notification that her credit card was used, but it's impossible because we're in Philly, she's all the way in Virginia, she's nowhere near here, so there's no reason for her card to have been charged. And she is furious. She's saying that she's going to file all types of complaints because we're running a shady business, because we're letting people steal credit card numbers, and it was a whole thing. So it took me a minute to kind of calm her down and let her know that the order came through online. Unfortunately, if the order comes through online, we have no way of knowing who is authorized to use what card. We're just accepting the orders. I hate that it's that way, but there's nothing that I can do about that process. But what I can do is I can cancel the transaction, I can refund you your money, and I also ended up sending her like a appetizer gift card through the email because she was really upset. She could use it down there in Virginia. She didn't have to come up to this specific restaurant to use it. So once we finished with that crisis, I had to go up to the front and let them know, like, hey, this order was canceled. So if the person comes to pick up this order, it still has to be paid for it. Please come get me. Do not give out this order. So about 20 minutes goes by. They walking me to the front because someone's here to pick up that order. So I go out there as this little young guy, and I let him know, like, hey, unfortunately, the payment method that you used for this particular order, it didn't go through. You should have received an email just letting you know that you would have to pay upon arrival. And so he looks at me and he goes, "But that's my card." And so I say, "Oh no, I didn't say that it wasn't your card. I'm just saying that for some reason the system didn't accept it. And so if you have that card with you now, I can just take it and I can just go ahead and swipe it." No one good in her, well, he ain't had a card. So he says, "Well, can you just open the order back up and try it again?" So I say, "Well, unfortunately, because the transaction is canceled, we don't have any access to the credit card information. So if you have the card with you here, I can just go ahead and swipe it for you." And so he goes, "I don't have the card." And so I say, "Whoa, okay. Well, if you don't have that card, do you have another card that you could use to pay?" So he like, "No, man, you want some bullshit." So I say, "Whoa, I'm just doing my job, sir. However you want to pay for this, just let me know. The food will be here ready waiting for you." He's like, "All right, man, give me a minute. Just give me a minute. Damn." So I'm like, okay. So he leaves out. And he's gone for a minute, to the point where we thought that he just wasn't going to come back. He ends up coming back. They call me to the front. I get to the front, so I'm like, "Okay, well, you ready to pay for everything?" This fool slides me like a ripped envelope with what appeared to be 3 different credit card numbers written on the envelope, and says to me, "You can try one of these." I look at the envelope, and I look at him, and I look at him, and I look at him, and I say, "Yeah, I'm not doing that." do you have a card or not? He says, you ain't even trying. You don't even know if they work. I said, sir, neither do you. Do you have a card so I can process this transaction or not? And he goes, oh, you think I'm playing? I got something for you. So I said, well, will it be cash? And then he stormed out, cursing all out like I was the problem. One day he calls
Get ready with me while I break down my breakup and how I went from this to this and calling my ex my future husband to being single again.
Initially, things were going very well, as most relationships do when they first start out. It was going so well, in fact, that I introduced him to my mom. I introduced him to a ton of my friends. To say the least, we were on track, okay? Things felt like they were going really, really well. It felt really good. About 3 months ago, I was invited to go on a branded trip. Initially, I invited my mom. This was before he and I were getting more serious, and my mom and I had come up with a great plan. Because we were already going to be in New York, we were going to see some people that we love and care about in the city. So I actually did a semester in New Jersey, and I have friends that now live in the city, and my producer from Love is Blind is going to be in town. So I started making plans for a second part of the trip, right? There would be the branded part that would be completely free, and then the second part of the trip where we go to New York City for like 2 nights, stay in a hotel, see friends. As things were getting more serious between he and I, my mom and I were talking on the phone once, and she was like, you know, Madison, I've been thinking about it, and I feel like this would be such a great experience for the two of you to do together. And it was so sweet of her. I mean, it was so gracious that she was like, you know, excited to see these people. She was excited to do the brand trip, but she was like, you know, I really feel like this might be more of like a romantic trip, so you guys should do it together. And I talked to him, and he was absolutely on board. I told him the whole itinerary. I told him about the branded part and the second part of the trip. I also explained that obviously airfare would be covered, and the first part of the trip is covered, but the second part of the trip is not covered. So we would just need to figure that out together. He was absolutely on board. He had 0 reservations. He was interested in doing it. I laid out exactly what the cost would be and kind of like what we were looking at, right? He was on board for it. A few weeks pass, and we're talking about what we're excited to do in the city. I'm telling him about the people that he's going to meet. You know, we're planning a trip. So fast forward to 3 days prior to the trip, I get a phone call. It's him, and he's calling me to let me know that he has thought long and hard about it, and he can't do New York. He says, you know, I have these financial goals, and I thought I could swing it. I really can't. I don't think it's good for me to go to New York. Let me be extremely clear. I am not upset about the fact that his financial situation did not lend itself to the plan. What I'm upset about is the fact that I talked through the entire plan with him 3 weeks prior. We were both on board for what expenses were going to be had in New York. We talked about the whole thing, and now it's 3 days until the trip, and he's bailing on me. And mind you, this isn't the kind of thing that I can just reschedule. Like, I have a contract. I'm contracted to go for the branded part of the trip. I've also given my word to people in the city, my producer, my friends. We already started making plans, and now I don't know what to do. 3 days prior, I'm like totally going into panic mode. I'm calling my mom, I'm calling my friends, nobody's able to go. My mom had took extended time off during Christmas because she wasn't going on this trip, so she no longer had the PTO to come on this trip with me. And of course, none of my friends could either because it's 3 days until we're leaving. Not to mention the fact that my mom literally gave up her spot for him to come. So as you can imagine, I'm in a bit of a panic. I don't know what to do. I'm trying to call people. Obviously, nobody can come. I booked a non-transferable ticket because the person that I trusted gave me their word. I'm trying to problem solve the situation, and I have an idea. I'm like, okay, so if finances are an issue, how about this? You come to the first part of the trip, which is free to me and him. It's branded, right? So he doesn't even have to pay for his flight. Accommodations, food, everything is covered. So I was like, why don't you come to that part, and then when we come back, I'll drop you off at the airport, you can go home, and I'll go into the city and see my friends that I've already made plans with, that I've already committed to. And I take full responsibility for the fact that I was in a panic. So do I think that I was maybe communicating as efficiently as I could have? Probably not. Was I maybe a little bit frazzled and overwhelmed? Because I'm upset. Like, I'm angry, right? He completely blindsided me, pulled the rug out from under me, and now I'm having to try to like come up with the solution and clean up the mess that he created. So I bring that
idea to him. He's like, no, if you go to the second part without me, I'm not going at all. Literally says to me, if you go to the second part without me, I'm not going at all. So at this point, this is not about finances. This feels manipulative and controlling. Like, I seriously don't get it. What's it to you if you come to the free part, I go on to the second part that was always part of the itinerary, that I've given my word to people, that I've made plans on, that you agreed to? Why would it matter if I go by myself? So honestly, I was backed into a corner. I had to call my friends in New York and tell them that we weren't coming. And I had to make up an excuse to cover for him because I felt embarrassed. And obviously, I was still with this person. In hindsight, I should have just maybe gone alone. But honestly, that's so sad because like this was a magical winter wonderland trip that my mom graciously gave up for us to experience together. And now my options are to either go by myself or acquiesce. And I even explained to him, I was like, you know, this really like causes emotional distrust for me because you gave me your word. I trusted what you said when you told me that you were in, and I booked a non-transferable ticket based on your word. So that was that. We went on the branded part of the trip. I canceled the second part of the trip. I moved our flight back 3 days. While we were on the trip, I had a little sit down with him and I explained to him the emotional repercussions that this caused. I just explained to him how I was feeling a little bit emotional distrusting, how I felt like the dynamic had shifted. But we had a deep conversation and he told me, you know, I understand. I'm going to really step up. Like when we come back to Denver, like I promise. You know, my mom was really disappointed and hurt by it too because she was so excited to do the whole thing. She knew that he had agreed to doing the whole thing, and it just felt like my thing got kind of ruined. And something else that he said while we were in New York was like, he mentioned the fact that he feels like it's the Madison show and he feels like, you know, we just do my stuff all the time. And I'm like, then invite me into your life. Like, I have these events going on and I'm trying to integrate you into my life. I would happily do whatever you want to do as well. I want to be a part of your life, and that's a relationship. So he was like, you're right. Like, I haven't really been inviting you to other things. Like, I haven't really been stepping up. I hadn't even met any of his friends. So I left that conversation feeling pretty good. I was like, okay, you know, I might be disappointed and let down, but that's a relationship, right? It ebbs and flows. So I trusted his word once again that he would step up. Fast forward a few weeks and the dynamic still feels off. You know, it just feels like he's not really putting in a lot of effort. It feels like when we are doing things, it's because I'm planning them. It just didn't feel balanced. And at this point, there have been other things that he has committed to and then bailed on. So I'm starting to see a pattern. It kind of almost felt to me like because he had me for a certain amount of time, he was comfortable and I don't know, like it felt like he didn't need to put in as much effort anymore. So last Tuesday, I went over to his house and honestly, I was prepared to end it. Like, I just felt like I was running on a hamster wheel. I kept saying the same things to him. I don't feel like there was any change being made. And so I went over to talk to him. I'm so sorry. Go to part 2.